A financial watchdog in former President Donald Trump's $250 million civil fraud trial has informed the court of approximately $40 million in previously unreported cash transfers. Retired federal judge Barbara Jones, appointed to monitor financial activity at the Trump Organization, said there have been some violations, but overall, the organization is cooperating and in compliance with court orders. The defendants were required to report any cash transfers exceeding $5 million. And Jones's team found 3 such transfers totaling around $40 million, including a $29 million transfer to Donald Trump for tax payments. The Trump Organization has agreed to enhanced monitoring and committed to ensuring required information is promptly disclosed to the monitor. The trial stems from a lawsuit filed by New York Attorney General Letitia James's office against the Trump family and the Trump Organization, alleging years of bank, tax, and insurance fraud. Former President Donald Trump is facing a $250 million civil lawsuit in New York, accused of engaging in a decade-long scheme with his sons and top Trump Organization executives to inflate his net worth to obtain more favorable loan terms. The trial follows a judge's partial summary judgment that Trump submitted fraudulent valuations for his assets. Trump denies all wrongdoing, and his attorneys argue that his alleged inflated valuations were a result of his business skills. The trial will determine additional actions and penalties, if any, the defendants should face. The judge has allowed testimony from 2 experts on the value of Trump's Mar-a-Lago property, despite objections from the New York Attorney General. Former President Donald Trump has reiterated his call to replace the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, if he is re-elected. Despite the GOP's previous failed attempts to eliminate the law in 2017, Trump has promised to provide much better health care than Obamacare for the American people, although he has not yet offered a specific replacement plan. While some Senate Republicans are open to revisiting the effort to unwind and replace the ACA, others are skeptical about disentangling it after 13 years of being part of the U.S. healthcare system. Former President Donald Trump recently welcomed support from the Black Lives Matter movement, despite having criticized it in the past. This came after Maryland activist Mark Fisher, who was introduced as a co-founder of Black Lives Matter Rhode Island on Fox, expressed support for Trump and condemned the Democratic Party. Trump responded on Truth Social, calling Fisher a great guy and expressing his honor in receiving support from him and BLM. However, Black Lives Matter leaders have disputed Fisher's remarks and Trump's claim of support, with some stating that Fisher is not a co-founder of the organization and that his group is not affiliated with the wider Black Lives Matter movement. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has warned former President Donald Trump that if his re-election campaign focuses on revenge against his political enemies, he will lose the 2024 race. McCarthy believes Trump must base his campaign on the future of the country in order to win. He suggested that if Trump's campaign is about renewal, rebuilding, and restoration, he will be successful, but if it is about revenge, he will lose. McCarthy also mentioned that South Carolina Sen. Tim Scott would make a great running mate for Trump, but if he were in Trump's position and picking for political reasons, he would choose former South Carolina Gov. Nikki Haley. A federal appeals court has rejected former President Donald Trump's bid to dismiss civil claims seeking to hold him accountable for the January 6, 2021, riot at the U.S. Capitol, denying his presidential immunity for now. The ruling by the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for Washington, D.C., allows a number of lawsuits against Trump to proceed. The court stated that Trump is alleged to have instigated the riot during the course of his re-election campaign, and when a first-term president seeks re-election, his campaign is not considered an official presidential act. The ruling suggests Trump may face an uphill battle in arguing that his actions were taken in his official capacity as president, rather than as a presidential candidate. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia has ruled that former President Donald Trump can be sued for inciting the January 6, 2021, Capitol riot. The court rejected Trump's argument that he was acting within the scope of his presidential duties when he gave a speech that led to the violent attack on the Capitol. The ruling allows a lawsuit filed by U.S. Capitol police officers and Democratic members of Congress to proceed. Trump's attorney argued that the former president was merely expressing his First Amendment rights, but the court found that his speech was not protected by the Constitution. The case will now move forward to determine Trump's liability for the attack. Trump's lead attorney in Georgia, Steve Sato, has argued that trying his client during a presidential election would amount to election interference. Sato also claimed that Trump's statements about election malfeasance are protected by the First Amendment, and that the prosecution of Trump is based on content-based core political speech and expressive conduct protected by the Constitution. Trump is charged alongside others, including former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, with violating the state's anti-racketeering law by scheming to illegally overturn his 2020 election loss.